Let's look at doing the eyes. Now, with our drawing here, we've got one eye wide open and one eye squinting. So if you want to do, you can do two eyes the same. I think it just adds a little bit more interest to have this sort of asymmetric nature to the face. So how do we go about doing that? Now, hopefully you've left enough material here. If you want a sort of bulgy eye, then you can leave a bit more material and carve out the eye like that, similar to on this small head I've got here. So he's got, as you can see, sort of a bulgy eye section there. But if you want more of a recessed eye, then you'll get to the sort of this position. You still want this area across the top to go back across the top of the lid, so it curves back in there, but you don't want it sort of sticking out too much. Now, probably the first thing to do is to mark your eye onto the wood. I'm going to find a pencil. There we go. So mark on where you want the sort of eyelid to be. Now this side we're going to have it quite sort of bulging up, open. Maybe we can exaggerate that even more. Really have it sort of wide open there. Going back into the eyelid there. And then this side we're going to have it much more sort of half closed, squinting almost. I mean, it could either be one normal eye and one squinting eye, or one normal eye and one bulging eye, depending on which way you want to think about it, I suppose. So we mark on there how we want our eyes to be. Now we need to get these, to say, unless you want one eye really sort of bulging out, you need to get these leveled up. But we'll do that in a moment. So again, really all I'm going to do here with this side, because I've already got this cut in which we did earlier for the sort of the eye socket shape. I'm going to stab in along this line with a tool. Now obviously, because it changes profile as it goes along, you're not going to have an exact tool for the shape that you want, so we're going to use 2 or 3 different cuts to get the shape. So we can use, this is where sort of straighter tools probably come in handy, because you don't want too much of a curve. So we'll say that's not far off there. So you might need smaller tools here and do it in multiple cuts. But I'm just going to push in, follow the line around. And you could do this with a knife even, if you find that easier. If you've got a sort of Stanley knife or multi-purpose blade. In fact, I'll show you if you can do that with the, I've got a knife here. There's no reason why you can't dig in and follow the line. Again, you have to be careful to keep your fingers away. We can get make sure we get into the camera shot here so you can see. I'll do it from this side then. So we're just really going to dig in with the knife. Follow my drawn line around. Because this piece of wood is so hard, the grain on it is so tough, it's actually not wanting to sort of slice through, so I'm just digging it in. But you might be able to do a slicing motion if your wood's a little bit softer. So hopefully you can see there where I've gone in with the knife. Now once I've sort of stabbed it in, I might be able to just drag it because you get a cleaner cut really. So I'll just use this on this side as well. Okay, now once we've done that, we want to cut back in towards the eye, the bottom of the eyelid shape, but remembering to create a ball section. Now actually here I need to dig in a little bit further in for the shape of the eye. It's actually not going in where it reaches the bridge of the nose, it needs to go in there a bit more. So I'll sort that out in a minute, but I'll show you roughly how we're going to go about doing this. Now you could use your knife again and simply slice back towards the cut that you've made, like so, and you should be able to pick out some little pieces, and then you want to do that, basically do that more in the corners and try and keep the center as a ball shape. The knife's quite useful for getting right when you get right into the corner of the eye. You want to be quite careful with this bit because you don't want to break out the eyelid. So you want to just, if necessary, go over your stab lines again if you think you might need to. So just pulling bits out like that. Now you can either do that with the knife, or you can do it with your gouges if you want to. Finds it's a little bit easier with the gouges because they're sharper. So just carefully working out So that's more or less how you do that. Hopefully you can see. You can zoom in a bit there. How you create this eye shape. Now, as I say, I need to go back in here because at the moment it's too proud out here and it needs to go back in a little bit more towards the nose area there. So with a little bit more tidying up, that will look quite reasonable, and then we just need a bit of work around here. So you do the same thing on the other side with your smaller eye. Obviously you need to level up in this sort of plane the proudness of the eye. This one's out a bit more, so I need to take more of this material away here. But we'll come back and do that one in a moment. I'm just going to dig in here first and sort out this area. Now we'll come back in from the other side and see if we can cut. It's not tapering. Back in this way, we need to create whereby the centre of the eye is the bit that's furthest forwards, and then it obviously curls back either side of that. Otherwise it's going to look a little strange. There we go. In there. Normally this would be a lot easier. It's just, as I keep saying, the graining on this wood is not ideal. So there we go, that's looking a bit better. Now I've destroyed the corner of the eye, so I'm going to have to put that back in. Because obviously before it was too proud, so I'm going to have to put that, redo that now. I mean, obviously you should really sort that out first, but I thought as I was in the mood I'd show you the eye bits. So we'll put this back in and we'll do the same thing again. We'll just stab in on our line. I might just make it slightly wider as well. Give it a real sort of bulgy look. Means I can tidy up as well. There we go, so now I can just taper these back in again. There we go, that's looking much better now. So obviously just a little bit more cleaning up around there. I think it will look quite good when that eye's. I might even close this one even more so it accentuates the openness of this one. But that's more or less how you do that. So I'm going to just level up this eye to this one, and then I'll have a go at this eye. Okay, so one last thing before we sand up properly, and this is, you don't have to do this really. I suppose on this design you could paint it in, but we need some nostrils under here, so let's see if we can get in there and just put some little indents in. They don't need to be too dramatic. As I say, you can always just paint these areas in if you wanted to, but we'll try and see if we can get in there and just put a little bit of cut a little bit of wood away. Now, because we've got this angle here, and this is sort of the chin is going to stop us getting in there. It's going to be quite tricky. Now you can get tools with bends on them like this for doing sort of help to get in such angles, but this is not really going to help in this one because it's only a straight one anyway. So we'll see how we can do it. Now probably the best way I'm going to be able to do it is by coming in here just from the side of the chin and just getting a bit of a stab in there. I'll just mirror that on the other side so I know where I've been. Now we'll see if we can get in at this angle and stab in as well. There, you might be able to. then from here, getting in there. Yes, it sort of seems to have worked. So now I'll try and get in this angle and just see if we can cut back towards my stab marks here. Oops. Let's see, it's going again. Because we're going sort of at the bottom of the grain, we're going across the grain. It's not going to be very easy. You're not going to be able to get in very deep with one cut. So you need to sort of just work at it gently. Get in there. And I'll try again from this angle and come in. See if I can dig out there. Yeah, so hopefully you can see in there, started to get a little bit of material out there. We can get in with a bit of sandpaper as well and try and just clean that up. Sometimes, well, particularly when you're learning, the best way is just to experiment. If you don't sort of go too hard at anything, don't sort of push in too hard to start with, and be careful. Just experiment with different cuts, different angles, and you'll soon find what works and what doesn't work. And you'll find, different woods can, react differently to being cut across the grain as well. So it's worthwhile experimenting really, and playing around, and you'll soon get a feel for what's the best thing to do in any sort of situation. I'm just getting there now with so I think that's all we need. We don't need anything too dramatic up in there, because we can pick it out with paint anyway. So I'll just do this other side the same. Just be careful if you have glued a piece on. Mine is only obviously on the tip of the nose here. If that was a glued on piece, you have to be careful of pushing on it too hard. The glue should be on there nice and strong, but you just want to avoid doing that if you can onto a glued piece, particularly when it's only a small section that's glued on. It hasn't got much area for the glue to grip really. yeah, so there we go. Hopefully you can see sections up in there coming out. So really now it's a case of sanding all over. I like to use, a lot of the time, have a finish, a wood carved finish, but with hand puppets particularly, I think they do look better sanded smooth a lot of the times, and particularly with this piece, because it's so hard to work, I would have to go round. It's going to take me a long time to go around very, very carefully to get that sort of tooled finish on this. Not impossible, but it's going to be quite time consuming compared to smoothing off in this particular case. So I'm going to do that, just work through the sandpapers. Got 80 grit, give it a quick once over with 80 grit, and then probably do 120 and 180 around there, and just sort of try and make everything smooth and flow nicely. I don't want to totally make everything, you know, super smooth and bland. I want to still, you know, give the effect that it is carved wood if I can, so I don't mind the odd little you know, sharp edge and tool mark here and there. It's not, I don't think, too bad, but the majority of it we're gonna smooth out. But yeah, other than that, quite pleased considering. So I'll get going on that, and then we'll look at how we finish off with the painting.